In this section, we're going to learn how to light a fire. When you think about it, a fire should be able to light itself and also to light the subjects around it, but it really doesn't. It can barely light anything within about, let's just say, a half a foot of it. Anything beyond that, and it's not going to be able to light it. Whereas in real life, when we're actually watching something with our own eyes, it feels like the background is lit, the area around the fire is lit. It's a big spectacle, you know. But the camera doesn't see it this way. So we're going to teach you how to light as though the camera were seeing it like the human eye. And for that, you need lighting. In this case, we're going to use three lights. One that's being turned on and off right there, that's the background light. That's going to create the illusion that the fire is actually extending behind the subject and into the background behind him. Then we have in the top left-hand corner the moonlight, which is going to rim light the person and make it feel like it's outside. That's what's going to sell that whole principle. Now we're actually operating at 5600 degrees Kelvin, which is daylight. So we actually added another blue gel to that rim light, to the HMI up there. It's a 400 watt HMI to make it feel even more blue and even more like the moon. When we move the HMI away, it feels like it gets dull, like there's something missing there. And we put it back in and the moon kind of comes back into the picture. It feels like there's life coming back into the shot. Here it is again away. So the moon plays a very important part in this scenario. One thing to remember is that in reality, moonlight is white, but we perceive it as being blue because it's been kind of spoon-fed to us with in the movies for the past 50 years or whatever since color film, that moonlight, it has to be represented as blue for us to believe it as being moonlight. And we kind of have reached a point where we have to have it be blue in order for us to believe that it's moonlight, and it has to also be at a very high angle for us to believe that the shadows are realistic and they are actually coming from the moon. It could also be a streetlight in this circumstance. You could sell it as that. You could tint it maybe orange or greenish or something like that, and that'll sell it as being a sodium vapor or a mercury vapor streetlight. But in this case, we just went for blue being the moon. The last light we're going to talk about is 650 watt Fresnel light being reflected off of this gold disc with some orange gel on it. That's going to create that shimmer on his face that's going to enhance the firelight, and also at the same time, on shots where you don't really need to see the flame in the shot anymore, like a close-up or, for instance, a reverse angle shot, where the flame is actually just a rim light in the background, you don't even need to have the fire light at that point. You can just kind of use the shimmer effect as a rim light and make the set even safer for the actors at that point. So what we're going to be using is essentially a key and a rim light and a background light, just three lights to make this shot happen. That's really all you need to make a believable single shot like this, or even if this was a two-shot, you could still make it happen. You don't need a lot of lighting. It follows the same basic rules as lighting any practical in that circumstance. When you have a practical in a shot and you're trying to use it as motivation for your lighting, you're not actually using the lighting from the practical to light the subject. You're lighting around the practical, just making sure that the light has the four facets that we talked about before, which is the quality, the quantity, the color, and the direction. So as long as it has those four facets of the firelight, and of course the moonlight in this case, then it is going to be believable and it will look like a nice shot. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the how-to right now.
Temperature.
Yeah,
Night.
it was a medium but fairly clear hot night in the City of Angels.
Or the San Fernando Valley.
The San Fernando Valley.
I just want to leave that bit in. This guy is kind of out of control, aren't he? He's pretty funny. We saw him at the gun scene earlier, and it seems like the more the night rolled on, the more animated he got. So you kind of bear with him a little bit. This was the last shot of the day, and I think he was really tired. And the more tired he got, the more weird he got. But anyway, here's Mike filling up some coals over here for the fire, which we never actually used the coals in this case, because of course it wasn't making that kind of a flame. We just used the fire starter fluid for a couple of bursts of the flame, and that's really all we needed to get that effect. Not exactly something I'd recommend for safety, that's for sure. It's much better to use wood or some kind of kindling to keep that fire going for a little bit longer without using any kind of flammable liquid like that. But at that point, we really just needed to get a couple of bursts, and we didn't really have time to wait for kindling or wood to ignite to the right flame size and everything. So we just had to get that flame kind of poking out into the bottom of the frame, and that's what it took. We took some of this fire starter liquid. So here we have the gold disc with the orange gel on top to create even more shimmering highlights on the face and on the clothing of the actor. There's our model trying to act as serious as possible, I'm sure. And here's the effect of the shimmer light. As we're turning the 650 on and off, you can see it kind of acting up on his face right there. And here it is on and off. So you can see kind of the importance of that. I mean, that's kind of like what illuminates his clothing and his face. There's the background light going on and off again, so you can see that real quick. We modified the background light a little bit so it's not kind of washing the background too much, but it's kind of just starting in the top right hand corner and making a gradient to the bottom left. Coming up is our 400 watt HMI acting as Moonlight. What we're gonna have to do is just kind of like, I guess, swing it away however we can.
What about just turning the whole light?
If you can do that, that's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Welcome to the BBQ show. I'm your host, the freaking Arnie Pagal.
Okay, that's good. Now put it back. Yeah, that's our Moonlight. And again. And back in. So now that you know what all the lights are doing, we're going to go ahead and ignite the flame and actually show you what it looks like with the flame at the bottom of the frame. Necessity on the set here, always have a fire extinguisher on the set. Okay, stand by.
Flaming up.
Yeah, see that light fluid already disappeared. So what I gotta do is get it.
That definitely doesn't look like we're doing a barbecue. Okay, we don't need it to be that high. It's gonna sell it is you just going like this. Right. That's the only thing that's gonna sell it. I want to show what it would look like with just the fire.
Natural flames, okay.
So let's kill all of the lights but the Moonlight. Go ahead and light it up. Okay, and walk up to it. Warm up your hands. So this is what it looks like with just the fire by itself. It's pretty genuine. There's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, there's no light on his clothing. There's no light on the background. So that's where our lights come in. And by enhancing the firelight, by adding our own lights as enhancement to the firelight, it just makes more of an impact. It makes a better exposure for the camera as well too. And also it's more believable that the fire is actually extending into the background and actually lighting those trees behind him as well too. So just as a wrap up, let's just go over again exactly what it looks like. This is what it looks like with the reflected key, background light, and HMI rim light. So with all of our lights, including the fire. That's exactly what it looks like. Just concentrate on that for a second. And this is what it looks like without our lighting. This is just the HMI rim light and the fire. So it has a whole different mood. I mean, that is one mood that you might want to explore. If that's what you're looking for, extremely dark background, then it will work for that. Both are correct for their own particular mood. The lighting can enhance the mood. That's the only thing that we're trying to teach you here, is how to be able to achieve different moods with your lighting. If you just use the fire and the rim light, that's fine. It creates a very dark kind of somber mood. But if you add our lighting, it's going to make the mood more positive, more like a campfire, less like a drum fire, you know. It's going to serve the script in a different way. So now you know 2 or 3 different techniques for lighting around a fire so you can get different moods out of it for your script. Just make the lighting fit the mood and you'll always have a successful scene.